Hey everybody. Happy Thursday from England. Good to see everyone. Yuri, thanks. Good to see you over there. I can see my folks on Instagram. I don't quite know how to see them on the other channels just yet, but maybe I'll get there one day. Thank you for joining. Tonight I have a confession. I'll tell you something that might shock you. For 10 years in my digital health career, I had this niggling belief that maybe this whole digital health thing was actually just a phase. Like it wasn't a real job, it wasn't a real career, right? So I kept my nursing scrubs and my stethoscope and my all of my gear and that sort of thing, because that was a real job and this was my just in case plan. I was always preparing for the day I'd have to go back to real nursing, and I couldn't have been more wrong about that. And I couldn't have been more wrong about it being a real job and having a real impact in patients' lives. Tonight, I'm going to share how I went from treating half a dozen or so patients per shift to creating systems that actually prevent problems for thousands of patients across whole populations every single day. So when I had to make this decision, I was suffering from burnout. I think we all know what that feels like. A little bit of dread the day before you go back on shift. Sitting in the car, maybe an extra few minutes once you get to work, that kind of thing. So type burnout in the chat if you're on that same sort of scale as well, or impact if you dream of making a bigger impact into healthcare and you dream at a bigger scale already. So here it is, my hidden backup plan, my secret. While I was building my digital health consulting world, I was secretly renewing my nursing license every 2 years, keeping my stethoscope in a nice little drawer in my desk, and maintaining my clinical skills with a little per diem shift here and there, that sort of thing. It was like having an identity crisis. By day, I was helping organizations implement solutions that improve care for thousands. And by night, I was studying for my PDUs, my professional development units for the nursing competency kind of things, because I thought my real career was still at the bedside. This caused cognitive dissonance, right? I was living two lives. Successful digital health consultant by day, closet clinical nurse by night. And the exhaustion of maintaining this double identity was just killing me. This is why you might care about that. If you're in healthcare right now and you're feeling burned out, you might be exactly where I was, not seeing that your clinical expertise could be destined for something so much bigger that is, in fact, real, right? So for me, here was my moment. It was the 847 patient moment. I remember being at work. We'd done some significant amount of work. We had data to talk about now, and we were looking at the data. The data that we reviewed showed that from a population health project, our well, we'll call it an AI system. It was machine learning. The difference gets a little subtle. It had prevented, according to our data, it had prevented 847 emergency department visits in a single month. Now, sitting in that conference room, I realized I had just prevented more patient harm in 1 month than I could have prevented in an entire year of bedside nursing. So that's when it hit me. I wasn't abandoning patient care by working in digital health. I was amplifying my clinical impact beyond anything traditional nursing could ever offer. So that that scale realization was sort of a big deal. The clinical judgment that you have when you take it and you embed it into digital systems, well, now it influences care decisions, more care decisions in a week than you can make during your entire bedside career. That's real nursing, right? So drop me a line if this perspective is sort of blowing your mind right now. And I find that it's a nice answer to the reality of burnout. So, I mean, we're in a crisis, and we've been in a crisis the whole time I've been in my career. 55% of U.S. healthcare workers across the board are actively looking for new jobs. Physician burnout peaked during COVID at 62.8%. Those are people who are just done, right? And that's why the following is true. The WHO has predicted that we'll have a shortage of 10 million of us healthcare workers by 2030. But here's what they're not telling you. Everyone's focused on the shortage, but I see the biggest career opportunity in healthcare history. Digital health needs clinical people who understand that the technology needs to serve real human health. Research shows technology, properly applied, this digital health stuff, can free up 13 to 21% of the time of a nurse. That's 240 to 400 hours per year. You know, if you're working 2,000 hours per year, that's a big chunk, right? That you can actually spend back with your own patients. So stop thinking of the technology that's coming along to replace you and start thinking about how you can scale your clinical expertise with that technology to serve thousands instead of just the patients you happen to see on your unit that day. There are a lot of career paths here that I was never told existed during nursing school. I didn't get any exposure to it in my nursing career. And it takes you beyond the bedside. I kept my nursing credentials just in case because I thought there were maybe like 3 or 4 jobs in health technology. And the reality is there's unlimited career paths. My client, who's now on her 3rd week of her new digital health job, her job description changed from the time she had an interview to the time that she actually started because they realized that she was good at other things, and so they gave her something much more interesting. You can use population health inside of digital health to care. Instead of caring for 6 or 8 patients, you can design interventions that actually prevent diseases across entire communities. That's a big deal. That gives you the warm and fuzzy feeling inside, let me tell you. And clinical workflow optimization, you use your experience that you've had already with clunky systems and with technology that doesn't really actually work to create the technology that actually works for real healthcare providers. The job of solving the problems that you already know about is a job. It's a well-paying job. It's an impactful job. There's even digital therapeutics. You create technology-based treatments for patients that provide evidence-based care for specific conditions. So yeah, the technology is doing something. It's coming up with the right answers, but it's underpinned by actual clinical evidence. So this is where the multiplier impact comes from. Every clinical frustration you've experienced in work actually becomes an opportunity to create solutions that prevent other professionals and patients from having the same problems. Those problems don't need to exist. They cost money, they cost opportunity, they cost health, they cause pain. In the worst case, they could even cause death, right? So there's value in solving these things. The salary associated with this, yeah, the digital health roles offer competitive salaries with better work-life balance and all the rest of that. But in my experience, it's not competitive salaries. It's way different. My nursing income got quintupled, which was a number I could not hold in my head. I didn't think a nurse like me would ever have access to that kind of money. Changed everything. So before I made that change, I had the same thing as everybody at the bedside does: physical exhaustion, missed events because somebody else is making up your schedule for you, night shifts, workplace hazards. Is that did I just get stuck by somebody who's got hepatitis C or HIV or something like that? And that led to the emotional drag and the constant burnout. After making this change, I had a predictable schedule, remote work, more money, energy for my family. Huge difference. Huge difference. So when you're not physically and emotionally drained by clinical demands, you have energy left for the people who matter most in your life, which is why you go to work in the first place, right? And you get a better alignment with your real purpose in life. You find work that aligns with your deepest values and creates fulfillment that enhances rather than detracts from your personal relationships. I said fulfillment, not happiness, right? We can get happiness from a slice of cake. This causes something much deeper. And for the future, instead of surviving one shift to the next, as I did for 30 straight days in Los Angeles because I was in debt and between classes, and it was 12-hour shifts until I just couldn't see straight anymore. Instead of that, you can actually plan for the future, pursue your own personal interest, and invest in long-term relationships. Not just relationships, but, money as well. So, if you need it, let me give you permission to get liberated. I remember when I donated my scrubs finally. The day that I finally donated them to a charity wasn't sad. It was liberating. I wasn't giving up nursing. I was accepting that I'd found something bigger inside of it. It was a different role. It was a bigger thing. It was a better fit. Your clinical experience won't be wasted in digital health. It's going to be amplified. Every insight that you've got, every problem you've ever experienced becomes the foundation for new systems that serve thousands instead. It's a gigantic leap. You're going to be transferring some skills here. Everything valuable about clinical practice, the clinical thinking, patient advocacy, safety awareness, hell, even regulatory knowledge becomes a powerful asset in digital health roles. You'll find your colleagues are clinically just empty. They've got nothing. When you make what you think are obvious observations, you become a genius. And your healthcare mission in life, if this is more than a job for you, if this is a career, if this is a calling, your healthcare mission becomes fulfilled because it's not about abandoning that mission. It's about scaling up your impact to reach way more patients than you ever thought was possible. But I talk about this often, there's some realities here that people who are listening haven't typed in, but I know they're thinking. I know what you're thinking. I don't have any technical skills. Yeah, those are easy to learn. Way easier than blood gas analysis, way easier than most of the clinical skills you've already built. The clinical experience took years to develop, and it can't be taught. The other technical stuff, anybody can learn, including you. And there's some reality here. You don't have to develop those technical skills to the point of now you're some kind of programmer. You just need to apply your clinical expertise to the technology challenges to serve patient populations. I mean, think about it. A delivery driver didn't engineer the vehicle they're driving. They just know how to operate it so they can get a job done. Same thing. Drop something in the comments if you're ready to stop treating digital health as a backup plan and start treating it as your primary mission. I know that's a big leap for most of you, for most of the people listening. I made that leap 25 years ago, so I kind of take it for granted sometimes, but I can't do that. Next week, I'll be talking about more digital health topics, and I'll be sharing about some of my geographic arbitrage and other ways that I'm able to make and retain wealth and make my impact without actually having to, get in the car and go work my tail off somewhere. So here's the close for tonight. The truth about your impact in healthcare: your stethoscope served you well, but your clinical mind might be destined for impact that reaches far beyond any patient encounter. This is the choice. You can continue helping one patient at a time, or you can explore whether your expertise is meant for designing healthcare systems that serve millions. So stop keeping digital health off to the side. It's not a safety net that maybe one day is going to happen. If you're feeling called to make systemic changes, to solve those problems that are bothering you every day, if you're feeling frustrated with individual patient care limitations, this might be your real calling. The trouble is, and in your defense, they never told us about this. They never trained us. So DM me impact if you're ready to discover what your clinical expertise can accomplish when it's not limited by shift scheduling and patient ratios and contracts and labor and that sort of thing. Remember, the healthcare transformation needs clinical professionals like us who understand that the greatest patient care happens when we create systems that serve everyone. Thanks for joining me live tonight. Feel free to DM me directly, especially on Instagram. I monitor that pretty closely. And just email me. Go to my website. You see it up at the top of the screen, rodgamble.com. Everything's got my name on it. You know who I am. You can go stalk me on the internet to see if this stuff is really real, really, happening out there in the world. Because it is. It's like a parallel world that most clinical people don't even know exists. I'll see everyone next week. Good night from England. Bye-bye.